inequalities. Section 10.5. I'm pretty excited about this. Example 1, it says solve the absolute value of y minus 2 equals 4. Now I want you to think about this for a moment. Forget about the stuff that's inside here. This stuff, let's forget about that for a moment. I'm just going to write the absolute value is equal to 4. That means that whatever is in here, wrote with the wrong side of the pen. Whatever is in here, it has to equal either 4 or negative 4. Because the absolute value, those are the two numbers that are 4 units from 0, right? Okay, so whatever's in there has to equal this or this. So what I do is, I actually take the stuff that's inside the absolute value and I write two separate equations. I say that y minus 2 can equal 4, and I say that y minus 2 can equal negative 4. Now this is an absolute value equation, not inequality. We'll get to that in a moment, but I wanted to show you how to work it with an equation as well. Okay? So if y minus 2 equals 4, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get y is equal to 6. All right? Over here, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get that y is equal to negative 2. That means that if y is 6 or negative 2, then I'm going to get 4 or negative 4 inside the parentheses, inside the absolute value, and that's going to give me 4. So y can be either of these two things. Okay? That's it. That's really it. When it's an equation, I write two separate equations. One equaling positive 4 and one equaling negative 4. Okay? Let's look at the next one. Now this is an inequality, an absolute value inequality. Okay? But I work it the same way, there's just one little twist. And you probably already know what it is. It's just like solving equations and inequalities. There's one little twist. Same thing. Here we go. I'm going to write two of them. I'm going to write that x plus 1 has to be less than or equal to 3, or, and, I'm not sure which yet, and or, x plus 1 has to be greater than or equal to negative 3. When I switch the sign of this one, I have to switch the inequality. Okay? Now let's solve it. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, and I get that x is less than or equal to 2. And over here, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, and I get that x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Okay? Now, if I graph that, let's see what that looks like. Remember, my two critical numbers are negative 4, right, and positive 2. I'm going to put circles around each of them, and it says equal to, so I can color them both in. All right? And it says that x is greater than 4 and less than 2. That means if I pick any number in this area and I plug it in, let's just pick 0. That's in there, isn't it? All right, 0 plus 1 is 1. Is 1 less than or equal to 3? Sure, it is. Here's a picture of all the things we can plug in for x and get a true inequality. Okay? Awesome. That's awesome. It's that easy. So, was this an and or an or statement? Well, since I graphed in the middle, it was an and statement. Okay? It was a conjunction. So I can write these two things together. X is greater than or equal to negative 4 and less than 2. That's what my inequality is going to look like, and that's the graph. Perfect. 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 Now let's keep rolling. Let's look at the next one. All right? Same thing. It's an inequality. It says solve that and graph its solution set. Okay? So let's do this. T minus 3 is greater than 2 and or, and we're going to discover something after this, T minus 3 is less than negative 2. Remember, when I change the sign, I have to flip the inequality. Okay, so let's add 3 to both sides, and I'm going to get that T has to be greater than 5. Okay, add 3 to both sides, and T has to be less than 1. Okay, now when I graph this, my two critical numbers are 1 and 5. I'm going to put circles above them, but you see they're not equal to, so I can't color them in. And it says that T is less than 1 and greater than 5. All right, so this is a disjunction. This is an or statement. And there's something that we need to notice, okay? When we start off and the absolute value is greater than, then it's going to be an or statement, okay, since it's greater than. Look at the one before. It was less than, so since it's less than, we're going to get a conjunction. It's an and statement because the absolute value is less than the number, okay? Now you can always graph it, and graphing will show it to you best, all right? But that's a little trick that you can remember, okay? If it's the absolute value is less than a number, it's going to be an and statement. If it's the absolute value is more than a number, it's going to be an or statement, okay? All right, now, there's something that I want to talk about because the book talks about this, and I want us to get this in our head, what we're thinking about here. If I have two numbers on a number line, let me just draw this, okay? Let's just say that this is A and that's B, okay? The distance between these two numbers, all right, the distance between them is the absolute value of A minus B. Why is it the absolute value? Well, because remember, distance is always positive, okay? So if this number was -3 and this were 7, it's -3 minus 7. That gives me -10. But I don't have distances of -10. It's the absolute value of that. So it would be 10, okay? So the distance there would be 10. So it doesn't matter which one of these I use to subtract. Right? If I do 7 minus -3, right? If I do B minus A, the distance from here to here is also the absolute value of B minus A, right? 7 minus -3, well that's 7 plus 3, and that's 10. The absolute value of 10 is 10. Okay, it doesn't matter if I subtract going this way or if I subtract going that way. I'm taking the absolute value, so I'm always going to get 10. Okay? To find the distance between two numbers, we subtract them. And it doesn't matter which order because we take the absolute value. So I want you to look up here at the blue writing. Okay? It says that this absolute value equation is saying that the distance between a number and 5, right, because we're subtracting. Subtracting tells us the difference. The difference between a number and 5 is 1. Well, think about 5. What are those? What numbers are 1 from 5? Well, 4 and 6. If I were to solve that equation, I get x minus 5 is equal to 1, and x minus 5 is equal to -1. Okay? So let's add 5 to both sides here, and x is equal to 6, right? And then adding 5 here gives me x is equal to 4. Okay? This shows me the numbers that are 1 away from 5. Okay? Good. Now, I want you to keep that in mind. Whenever we have a subtraction problem inside of absolute value, then what it's saying is the distance between a number and the one they give us is over here. Okay? Now, think about this. In this one, it says r plus 3, but remember, we can rewrite that as r minus -3. So this is saying the distance between a number and -3 has to be greater than 5. Well, here's -3, okay? There's -3, and the distance between a number and -3 has to be more than 5. All right, well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what does that bring us to? -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so it's going to have to be out here, right? The distance, the numbers have to be out there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, still going out this way. What is that? -3, -4, 5, 6, 7, 8, -8. Okay, and it's going to have to go out this way. Well, when we solve it, let's do this. R plus 3 is greater than 5, the absolute value, we're going to get r plus 3 is greater than 5, and r plus 3 is less than negative 5. Okay? Well, let's solve that and see what we get. Subtract 3 from both sides, and I get r has to be greater than 2. Subtract 3 here, and I get that r has to be less than negative 8. And isn't that what I got up here? R is greater than 2, right? And r is less than negative 8. It's important that we understand that whenever we have a subtraction problem or something that we could write as a subtraction problem inside, excuse me, inside the absolute value, then we're talking about a distance between two numbers. Absolute value is all about distance. Distance from 0, different distance between two numbers. Okay, so keep that in mind because they're going to ask you, they're going to say, okay, here is, let's see, they're not going to use it. Here's an absolute value equation. Write a sentence describing that. The distance between a number and 5 is 1. Write a sentence describing this. The distance between a number and negative 3 is greater than 5. Okay? You're going to need to be able to do that. All right? Okay. And remember, whenever you're solving, you get two different inequalities or two separate equations because you have to solve them for the positive and for the negative. Okay? All right. Great job. I think you guys are ready.